Hi guys. Um, Everybody's out Monday going to the archery tournament, which, by the way, I hope you guys do great at. Uh, but I wanted to put this PowerPoint online so that we don't get behind. Um, watch it at your leisure. Today we're talking about the Jamestown Colony. If you will remember, last 9 weeks we talked about the first attempt of a British colony in the New World. The colony was at Roanoke, Virginia, and was sponsored by Queen Elizabeth I at the request of her friend Sir Walter Raleigh. Colony was led by a guy by the name of John Smith, and when the colonists began to run out of supplies, they sent John Smith back to England to get more and to get more people to help build the colony. Unfortunately, the Spanish Armada happened and caused John Smith to take over 3 years to return to Virginia. By the time he got back, the colony at Roanoke disappeared. You guys all have your theories about what happened to it. A little bit of argument either way. Don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk today about another colony. In the early 1600s, a bunch of a bunch of British businessmen joined together to form a thing called the London Company. This company, acting under the charter given by King James I, sent a group of over 100 men and boys to establish a new colony in Virginia. Among the men was a guy by the name of John Smith, our old buddy from Roanoke. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the London Company. What that was a group of businessmen that got together, they pooled their money and their resources, they bought ships, they hired crews, they financed colonization in the New World. And the idea was that when the colonies were established, when they started finding gold or silver, or they started producing crops and making money, that they would pay the company back, and they were supposed to give a portion of everything that they made for 7 years to the company, and that would let them get their money back plus make a profit. So this London company pooled their money. They sent these 100 men and boys. They didn't send any women because they wanted warriors and workers. They didn't want people keeping house just yet. They wanted to establish the colony, and then they would send the women over. So they sent 100 men and boys to establish a colony in Virginia, and John Smith was one of them. He was not in charge, but he was part of the group. Now, in 1607, the men set sail in 3 ships, which were the Discovery, the Godspeed, and the Susan Constant. They landed in Virginia in April of 1607 near the Chesapeake Bay area. The men then sailed up a river that they later named the James River after their king, King James. In May of 1607, they established a colony and named it after King James as well, Jamestown. You need to take some time, look at the map or the globe, find the Chesapeake Bay area, find the James River, find where Jamestown settlement was at. I think there's maps in the textbook, but you can look at it on the maps in class, or you can pull it up on Google Earth. But you need to have an idea where that is. That's going to be important to you. Okay, under the rules established by the London Company and the King, the colony was supposed to be set up to use the common storehouse system, which is where they share all of their goods equally. Whatever crops they grew, animals they killed, any other items they produced, were all to be placed in a central storehouse. And as you needed something, you went and got it. And it didn't matter who put it in there. If you needed it, you got it. This is basically a command economic system and is the basis for the form of government we now know as socialism. Um, the problem with this is that just like in socialist countries today, it didn't work because some people worked hard. They made a lot of crops. They raised, animals. They produced a lot of goods, put the stuff in the storehouse. Other people were like, hey, why should I work so hard? I can get whatever I need out of the storehouse. So the people who were working hard were feeding and taking care of the people who weren't working at all. And that made the people who were working hard say, hey, why should I work hard if they get to eat? Why shouldn't I just go fishing and, eat with them? Same thing happens in socialist countries today. The people who are producing stop producing because they see that it's not fair for them to produce and those who don't to still get the same thing. This idea, using this this common storehouse system, almost caused Jamestown Colony to fail. However, in 1608, our old buddy John Smith stepped in, took over the colony. He set up a new system. He based it on the biblical idea where Paul says that if you don't work, you don't eat. They established a system where each man kept some of what he produced for himself and used the rest to trade others for stuff they produced. So if I grew corn and you grew pigs, I would keep some corn and give you some in exchange for pork chops. You would keep some pork and trade some to someone else for peas, etc. This is the market economic system, which is what modern day capitalism is based on. The new system worked well until John Smith got hurt and had to go back to England. During the winter of 1609-1610, all but 60 settlers died. Now you got to understand too that they had already brought more people over. It was more than just the original 100. There was a bunch there, but tons of them died. Only 60 of them made it through the winter. They were ready to pack up and go home, but just as they were getting ready, a bunch of other ships came with supplies, more people. So they were like, well, let's give this a shot. We'll stay. One of the settlers, a guy by the name of John Rolfe, who married a young lady named Pocahontas, taught the people how to grow tobacco. Tobacco became a really big marketable crop for Jamestown, and it caused Jamestown to grow and eventually led to its success. It also caused the colonists to need more manpower to work the farms, and unfortunately this is when they started buying African slaves from Dutch ships and began the slave trade in British North America. Now there was also a thing called indentured servanthood, which meant that in order to get a ride from England over to the New World, somebody would say, okay, I'll sign up to be an indentured servant for 2 years. And then somebody would pay their way over. When they got over, then they would work for that person. They would be their servant for 2 years. And then after 2 years, they'd be free because they had worked off their debt. And that was working pretty good until they figured out, hey, we can buy these Africans and we don't have to set them free after 2 years. It doesn't cost us as much to take care of them. We don't have to be humane. And that started the whole mess that eventually led to the Civil War. So, anyway, there you go. So we have discussed the Jamestown Colony. Be sure to have all your notes, written down. Keep those to study. Look up the location of Jamestown, the Chesapeake Bay, James River, all that stuff. Find where all that is on the map. You're going to need to know that later on. And also read in your textbook about Pocahontas and the Rolfe guy and all those. Read that story in your textbook and make your own notes from there. Just a hint, anything in the textbook that is in bold print in the text is important, and you will want to know that. Thank you. Have a nice day.